What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, the Fantasy Gazelle. Monday, September 1st. The last Monday for 17 weeks that we're going to have without football. I got my bold predictions, 2025, just finished them up, and I'm going to jump right in. I've got QBs, broke it down, QBs, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. All right, so we're just going to jump right in. First bold prediction of the 2025 season. Lamar Jackson not only finishes as the number one in QB in both 4-point and 6-point scoring for passing touchdowns. He gets his third NFL MVP, and he beats the fantasy QB points record, which he set last season, which was 434.4 PPR points. He's my number one dynasty rank QB, my number one redraft QB. The guy, he's still only 28. I'm all in on Lamar, and I think he's going to set the world on fire again. My next QB, Drake Maye. Okay? I'm a huge Drake Maye guy. I really found myself this offseason. I am jacked up for some Drake Maye this year and beyond. The mobility, I love everything New England's doing. He's currently the 15th QB on ESPN, the 18th on Sleeper in terms of ADP, and I think my bold prediction is he finishes as a top QB this season, and he flirts with 1,000 rushing yards. I'm really high on him, and trust me, and Trevion Henderson's going to help open that up too. Remember, he gets the points for those, and if Trevion catches the ball and takes it house, he gets those points. I'm really, really excited for Drake Maye. My next QB, J.J. McCarthy. You know, I feel like you're either in or out. And trust me, this off season, you hear training camp reports. One day he's the next Patrick Mahomes. The next day he's the next Zach Wilson. I mean, that's just how it's been. It's been up and down. I get that he didn't throw a lot at U of M. I don't care. I'm all in on J.J. McCarthy. Currently the 19th QB in ADP. I think it's a huge mistake. Which means it's a screaming value in my opinion. I think he finishes as a top 10 QB. I do. Look, he landed in the best situation he could have. That system, which has, within the past couple, 2-3 years, has produced the likes of Sam Darnold as a resurrected career, Josh Dobbs. I mean, Nick Mullins has had a bunch of games. The system is perfect. The weapons are awesome. Jordan Addison, when he gets back after week 3, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson. They've got 2 great running backs in Jones and Mason. Great team, great system. Tough schedule. They're going to have to put up points. And I just think J.J. McCarthy, if he's still young, he's only 22, but he gets the confidence, he's got the right system. I think he's going to make people regret that they passed on him. He was a screaming value. He's currently the QB 17 in Dynasty, and I think that's crazy. I think he's going to skyrocket, and this time next season, you're going to be talking about top 12-ish, maybe even better. I think McCarthy, the wheels are up for him, and I just can't wait to watch him. My last QB, bold prediction, I'm going with Dak Prescott. He's currently the 12th QB on ESPN, 14th on Sleeper, and I know it sounds crazy, but again, it's a bold prediction episode. I think he finishes as a top 5 QB. They just lost Micah Parsons. I look at Dallas, their situation as like a Cincinnati Bengals light. No defense, great offense, but the difference is they don't have a running game. They don't even know who they're starting running back. Is it Javonte Williams? Is it Miles Sanders? Is it the rookie Jaden Blue who can't stay on the field? Right now, it's looking like Javonte. I mean, guys, they don't have a running game. Jake Ferguson's a decent tight end, but it's the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens show, and I think Dak is gonna. I don't see a situation, if he's healthy, where Dak doesn't end up at least in second in the league, just behind Joe Burrow in terms of pass attempts. They have to. They don't have a defense and they don't have a running game. So I think he ends up as the second overall in terms of pass attempts. 2 amazing weapons. I'll talk about George Pickens a little bit later. And you're getting him at a crazy value. I mean, the 14th QB, you play in a 12-team league, he's not even going as a QB1. And he was the perfect guy. You probably already did your drafts already, but he was the perfect guy if you waited on QBs with the upside. I mean, especially in a 6-point touchdown. Oh my gosh. I think Dak's screaming value. And like I said, I got him in a lot of places where I waited, passed on the QB, and took him everywhere. 10th round. I mean, and I think Dak, I'm not a huge Dak guy, but I think this is a fantasy show, and I think he's healthy, knock on wood. That's always been his knock, but I really do. I think he could end up top 5 this year. All right, moving on to my running backs. We'll start at the top. Gibbs ends up as the number 1 PPR fantasy running back this season, ahead of Mr. Bijan Robinson. Bijan, you got to say Bijan, you got to get used to it. And I don't think that's super bold. I think the consensus is it's either, well, you've got some Barkley truthers out there still, but I think, it's Bijan's 1 and Jahmyr Gibbs is 2 in most circles. And that's why it's bold for me. I think Gibbs ends up as the number 1 running back in PPR. Standard is a little different, but not a lot of people still play standard. So I just think, with Ben Johnson gone, I think that was the last season of David Montgomery as flirting with the starter, as being the starting running back. I think we've moved past that. This new OC, he's got a point to prove, Johnny Morton. And look, there's so much talent on this roster. I get it. There are a lot of mouths to feed, but this is the best mouth to feed on this team. And on top of it, look at the schedule, okay? At Kansas City, at Baltimore, at the Rams, at Washington, at Philadelphia, and at Cincinnati. Those are all away games. Detroit's defense, who knows if they can stay on the field? If they have a bunch of injuries they're dealing with as it stands, and the season hasn't even started yet. Detroit's going to be putting up 30-plus points a game, especially in those games. Gibbs is going to be on the field for the majority of it, and he is going to freaking explode. I think he's a huge candidate to win Offensive Player of the Year. I haven't looked at DraftKings or like the future bets or anything like that yet. I might dip into that, but I'm assuming he's not top 3 in terms of it, so you can get some value on that. But I think he's a huge candidate to win Offensive Player of the Year. Can't wait to see Gibbs in his third season. He's going to explode, guys. My next, and this is a lot more bold, I should say. RJ Harvey is going to end up at the end of this season as the number 1 rookie running back in PPR. Ahead of Jonty, ahead of Hampton, ahead of Trevion Henderson. Guys, I am all in on RJ Harvey. I think, Sean Payton, look, he had a chance to take Omarion Hampton in the first round in the draft. Surprised he passed on Hampton, went with the best corner left. I get it. But he goes and reaches and takes Harvey in the second round. Surprised a lot of people. But this is the same coach that took an Alvin Kamara in his rookie year. And mind you, because a big knock on RJ Harvey is people are worried about J.K. Dobbins. Guys, when Kamara went to New Orleans in his rookie year, he had a healthy Mark Ingram. And if you remember, those two both finished top 10. They were like both top 8 running backs. Mark Ingram's in that time was way better than Dobbins is right now. Truth really is. And I'm trying to stay positive. I really want this to be a positive podcast. I don't want to knock anybody or put anybody down. I really don't want that to happen. But I'm just saying, Mark Ingram was a bigger threat, and Alvin Kamara in his rookie year was a monster. And I just look at this Denver team and I go, okay, you have your offensive weapons. You have Sutton. Okay, he's a good wide receiver. Then there's not really anybody else. I mean, Marvin Mims, who's dealing with a groin injury, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, rookie. Those guys aren't offensive threats. Evan Ingram, everybody's hot on Evan Ingram. I'm not as hot. He's on the other side of 30, and the thing with Evan Ingram is he's never really scored a whole lot of touchdowns. I think RJ Harvey is going to be used in so many different ways, and he's so explosive. They love him. When he first started in training camp, they were talking about, he's not the best in pass protection. He's worked tremendously to fix that. Sean Payton can't sing his praises enough. Guys, I think RJ Harvey is going to explode his rookie year. And that's my bold take. I think he's going to end up this season as the number one running back in PPR for rookie running backs. And I think he's going, and when he does that, on top of it, I am going to predict that RJ Harvey wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. I really think it. I really believe it, and I know it's bold because nobody else agrees with that. But watch out, RJ Harvey's going to be a monster rookie year. Next guy, and this is probably my favorite guy that I'm going to talk about in all of these bold predictions. I started last year. I didn't start this podcast last year, but I wanted to. I just wasn't ready, or I got on my own. I waited too long to start, but I'm here now. Last year, I planted my flag on Drake London in all formats, specifically Dynasty. I am a Dynasty. That's my go-to. Majority of the league, I play in like 19 leagues, and majority of them are Dynasty. I love the Dynasty format, and I was pounding the table last season for Drake London. Loved him everywhere he was going, the value, everything. Chase Brown is my Drake London this year. Guys, Chase Brown, my bold prediction is he ends up as the number 3 running back in PPR formats, just behind Gibbs and Bijan. From weeks 9 through 17 last season. And mind you, leading up to week 9, he was the backup running back in Cincinnati to Zach Moss, who got cut. There's no one else. They brought back a Samaje Perine, and they drafted Taj Brooks in the 5th, 6th round. It's the Chase Brown show. From weeks 9 to 17 last year, he was the RB5 in points per game in fantasy football. Guys, he is going to explode again this year. They're all in on this kid. He's only 25. He's on a team, again, like I said with Jamar Chase, no defense. Chase Brown on a team that's Joe Burrow's going to have to put up 35 easily every game to stay in these games. You have Jamar Chase. You have T. Higgins, who has never played a full season. I love T. Higgins, and again, I'm trying to stay positive, but it's probably a foregone conclusion he misses at least a couple of games. Your tight end situation, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, they're definitely not fantasy threats, but even in NFL. So a lot of the time you're going to be watching a Cincinnati game, and it's going to be the Jamar Chase and Chase Brown show. Chase Brown, from where you got him in drafts, he was the last, if you went he was going in the 3rd round. If you went first 2 rounds, let's say you went wide receiver, or, Brock Bowers is going in the 2nd. You wanted the shot on Brock Bowers, especially in a tight end premium. You go with wide receiver and a tight end, and you look at Chase Brown was the last guy in the 3rd round that I truly think, like I said, my bold prediction, I think he ends up, and not only as a running back 1, right, in a 12-team league or 10-team league, he's a running back 1. I think he ends up as the RB3 in PPR. I'm all in on him. He was without question my favorite player to target in a bunch of trades and Dynasty all off season when his name wasn't really that hot. He's really heating up quite a bit. But he was also my favorite player to draft. It was locked in 3rd round. towards this last week, maybe week and a half, two, he trickled into the back of the second round, which is smart. I'm glad people did that because I'm telling you, this guy, people are going to be scratching their heads going, man, why didn't I take this guy in the first round? He's absolutely my locked and loaded favorite guy this whole offseason. Guys, in Dynasty, his ADP right now for running backs is the number 17. 17 in Dynasty. This guy's going to be a top 5 to top 7 Dynasty RB this time next season. Absolutely my favorite player to draft in all draft formats. Love me some Chase Brown. Last year, real quick, I'm not like a huge stat guy, but last year, when he was the RB5 from week 9 to 17 in points per game, he was averaging 20.6 PPR points per game. And the value you got on this guy, and the value he is in startups in Dynasty, which is just a screaming value, to be RB17 right now, the guy's got top 5 to top 7 upside all day long. Next guy. Now this guy, talk about misplaced. This is the most mispriced player in fantasy football, in my opinion, in both redraft and Dynasty, and I'll get into that. But my bold prediction for this player, Mr. Braylon Allen, second-year running back for the New York Jets, is the Jets' RB1 over Breece Hall by midseason. I think that Breece Hall is a huge candidate to get traded at the deadline at Halloween. You're talking about a guy. The coaches absolutely love Braylon Allen. Last season, he came in as a rookie as the youngest player in football. He was 20 years old. He only just freshly turned 21. He's a physical specimen. I mean, for his size and what he can do, he's awesome. Justin Fields, we know he's mobile. You got a thunder and lightning type of situation here with Fields and Braylon Allen punching him. I don't predict the Jets to be on the goal line that often. I think it's going to be rough sledding for them this year, which even enhances my thought that, by the trade deadline, if the Jets aren't really playing for much by then, and you'll know by then, week 8, they'll know by then if they're, they have a sniff at contending or not. The way I look at their team, I think it's going to be rough sledding for them. They didn't add another weapon, a receiving weapon next to Garrett Wilson, who's a small statured guy as it is. And, and you've got Fields, who I love Fields for fantasy with the mobility, but the accuracy is a real issue. So I just don't really see enough firepower on that team to really stay as a contender at all, and which bodes really well for Braylon Allen, because come the trade deadline, we heard kind of rufflings over the offseason with a whole new coaching staff, mind you, Aaron Glenn, everybody, kind of say, that Breece Hall, they were on the fence of putting him on the trade block. Breece Hall came out and said, these guys basically have told me I'm not their guy. He's still on the team, but Breece Hall could be a huge trade candidate to a real contender by the deadline. There are some teams out there. I mean, I just got done talking about Dallas. They don't have a run game. Breece Hall would 1,000% be the best running back in that situation. And if Dallas is winning games and their offense is holding up and Dak is holding up and Lamb and Pickens are going off like I think they will, Breece could be a great trade target for Dallas come the trade deadline at Halloween. And now you're sitting there with Breece Allen, 21 years old, rookie contract, as the RB1 on the team, and this is when I talk about the most mispriced player in fantasy football, it doesn't make any sense, guys. The guy in redraft, which, think about it, in redraft, he should be going later than he does in Dynasty, right? Because in redraft, right now where he's being drafted, Breece Hall is on the team. So he should, right now, Breece Hall is going to be start, even though I think that it's going to be like real close to 50-50 split versus, a typical backup running back situation with the guy in front of him. I think right off the jump, starting week 1, I think you're going to see a 50-50 split. And don't be surprised if, based on game script right early on with Breece in the mix, that Braylon Allen's getting more touches, running out the clock and keeping the opposing offenses on the field. But not only is Braylon Allen going as the RB43 in redraft, which is a running back 4 in a 12-team league, some leagues going undrafted, in 10-team leagues going undrafted. But guys, he's the RB49 in Dynasty. How does that make any sense? He's the RB49 in Dynasty, but 43 in redraft. In Dynasty, as a 21-year-old player, does anybody think Breece Hall is going to get a deal with the Jets? I don't. For him, if he wants to be there, like I said, keep it positive. I hope it works out. I don't see it. And I don't see it's in the best interest for the Jets moving forward to give Breece Hall a deal. They've got other things to sort out in that team. And so you could be looking at a guy for, at the very least, possibly the RB1 for the Jets for the second half of the season on. Could be the RB1 next year for the Jets. It would only be turning 22. And they go and, grab, a nice RB2 piece behind him, and they just go fully in on Braylon Allen as their RB1. They believe in him. And the guy's going as an RB49? It just, to me, it screams not only tremendous value, but hugely mispriced. The market is off on him. And I think, guys, if he's on waivers, if you're in, before the season starts, you want to make one more little deal, throw Allen on the back. He's a perfect guy. I was doing that a bunch this offseason where I wanted a 2-for-1 or 3-for-2 or whatever. And I had them throw Braylon Allen on it as just a throw-in piece, and I've got tons of shares of him because I just think it makes so much sense in the world. I don't understand. To me, it's just, again, 43 in redraft, 49 in Dynasty. Even if you flip those, which you should, if anything, he should be the 43 and the 49. I still think those are both screaming values for a potential RB1 on an NFL football team, which does carry weight. And I don't know his stats particularly. I haven't really dove into stats from last season because it was kind of muddy, right? But I just remember watching him, my eye test with him. I'm like, and he was a great specimen out of great. He was great in college and athletics. Sorry, I lost my words there, but he was pretty sweet in college. He was really athletic. And again, youngest player in football last season. You would never have known it by watching him and looking at him. Anyways, that's a lot on Braylon Allen. And I apologize for that, but gosh, he is a screaming value, guys. My last running back, bold prediction. And you know what? I might skip this one because I don't know if it's really so much as a bold prediction. I'm really in on Jordan Mason. There's nothing really bold about it. Everything I wrote down here, goal line back, great offense, was traded. One real quick thing on Jordan Mason, what I think people are missing out on with him. What I love about the situation where he landed, I loved how he filled in for McCaffrey, everything last year. He was awesome. But doesn't it scream something to you when Minnesota, who, by the way, had a ton of draft picks, they decided in arguably one of the best running back draft classes we've ever seen, they not only decided to not use any of their picks on a running back, but before the draft, they traded to get Jordan Mason. That's huge. Jordan Mason, 26 years old, got a 2-year deal, and he's on a great offense. They've already came out and kind of said, it's not so much your typical starting running back and then backup. They've already said they kind of want them both working. I think Jordan Mason is going to get all the goal line work. Jordan Mason doesn't catch a lot of passes, but who cares? Touchdowns. Come on. Like, the guy's going to be a 3-down back. He's a great. I play in a lot of leagues that commissioners are always trying to, especially they're always trying to, make it a little more fun, more exciting. So, the additions of bonuses for first downs and carries, and it's not a whole lot, but Jordan Mason's a perfect late target those are gonna stack up. He's just one of my favorite one of my favorite players to pick in all formats this year. And then the huge one, and I never want to predict injuries, but Aaron Jones is 30 years old, 31, something like that. Injury history. Mason, look what he did when McCaffrey went down, who's younger than Jones. If Jones happens to go down, Jordan Mason easily an RB1 while he's out. Easily. In that offense, oh my gosh, come on. And you're getting him at a screaming value. He was, like I said, not really a bold prediction, I just kind of wanted to talk him up. He's one of my favorite players to pick. And I think there's a few of these guys that just make you think, that worry me, that they make you think at the end of the season, looking back, like, it happens every year. How did I miss this guy? How wasn't I a little bit more in on this guy? And Jordan Mason, for where he was going, I don't have the numbers exact. I should have, and I apologize for that. But he, to me, is just going to be one of those players that you're going to be kicking yourself going, why wasn't I more in on him? It wasn't really Aaron Jones. I don't know. But I love Jordan Mason. All right, wide receivers. Now, here we go. I got a couple of juicy, bold ones in here. First one, Ja'Marr Chase not only will run it back as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, in all formats, for the first time, that would be the first time a wide receiver, let me start this off. Ja'Marr Chase will run it back as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football for the first time since 2015 when Antonio Brown did it. Back-to-back wide receiver 1 finishes. But even more bold, he will be the first wide receiver ever to win back-to-back triple crowns. Guys, 25 years old, the scariest weapon, receiving weapon we have now in football, in fantasy football. I've said it and said it and said it again. You want pieces of the Cincinnati offense. Obviously, Chase should be the number one, even in a super flex. He should be only the third player. Go Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and then Ja'Marr Chase over any other QB running back. Ja'Marr Chase is an absolute cheat code. In any other format, anything that is just a 1 quarterback league, Ja'Marr Chase is by far and away the number 1 overall player. That's not the bold part, obviously, but the bold part is to run it back as the wide receiver 1 overall and to be the only wide receiver ever to get the triple crown in back-to-back seasons. And I firmly believe it's going to happen. No defense. Joe Burrow's, that's his guy. College QB. I mean, I just don't see a way, barring injuries or anything like that, with the current situations and depth charts and everything. I just don't see a way how Ja'Marr Chase isn't the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy. And I really think if he's the number 1 overall again, why wouldn't he get the triple crown again? I mean, Cincinnati, they did nothing with their defense. It's a shame, but it's great for fantasy. Now, this is my boldest prediction yet. Drake London, who I got done telling you, who was my guy I was pounding the table for last year when there was value. Now you can't get him. I mean, last year I was trading like Zay Flowers for him, and I got him in so many leagues. Drake London, my boldest prediction yet, is going to finish as the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football this season. Right behind Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, and when I say right behind him, I'm not saying like, oh, he was super close. I don't know. I think Ja'Marr Chase is completely in a league of his own. I really do. But it's bold because, we're talking ahead of Jefferson, Lamb, all those guys. He's going to be the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football. One of the few teams in the NFL that they are going into this season with the exact same depth chart as last season. You got Arizona. I think there was another team too. Same exact depth chart on offense. It's Bijan, who I love. Everybody loves him. It's Drake London. And then it's a banged up Darnell Mooney, who's missed most of the offseason. Kyle Pitts, who, gosh, I hope it works out. It had I don't understand, how Pitts isn't just extremely targeted, because they didn't do anything to, fill that void if he is a bust. I think he could. I think Michael Penix could, do a lot for Kyle Pitts, but to me, he doesn't remotely pose as a threat to Drake London. Drake London, in the minimal time he did spend with Penix last season, he was an absolute monster. The guy's only 24 years old. He's played with Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder, a Kirk Cousins, who last season, I think people were a little harsh on Cousins. I know he wasn't great. I know he was bad, but people are making it sound like Cousins was the worst thing that ever touched the field, and he wasn't that bad. If you watch the quarterback series on Netflix, and Cousins is, for whatever reason, he's on it for the second time, but he wasn't that bad. But needless to say, when Penix came in, though, there's a big difference. Penix has got a freaking cannon for an arm. Drake London is the only receiving threat other than Bijan that you got to worry about. They play in a, and I'm not trying to knock that division down, but come on, New Orleans, worst team in football. Carolina, I love what they're doing. They're building pieces, but they're not there yet. I don't see Atlanta losing either one of those four, any of those 4 games. They play them twice, same division. Tampa Bay's defense, not as good as they were last year. They've lost some pieces. I think Atlanta have a real strong chance at winning that division, and Drake London is going to be a huge reason why. He is an amazing wide receiver, and I think the sky's the limit with him. I do. So that's, like I said, that's my boldest prediction yet, is I think you're going to be looking at Drake London as the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football behind Jamar Chase this season. Next guy, the talk of the offseason, at least the last 6 weeks, my goodness. Emeka Egbuka, rookie out of Ohio State. This guy has been, everybody's in on him. And I get it, rightfully so. How do you say anything bold about a guy that everybody seems to be all in on right now, right? And super excited. The situation, Chris Godwin's, he avoided the PUP, but he's not going to be ready till at least week 5. The only reason Tampa didn't put Godwin on the PUP is because that gives Godwin the ability to stay and practice. If you go on the PUP, you can't even practice with the team. So they want to keep that roster spot open for him, even though it's not looking until about week 5-ish. So that Godwin, who's missed the whole offseason, he's a key part of that offense. They want to at least give him the opportunity as soon as he can to start practicing. So, but in the meantime, Emeka Egbuka is going to eat. My bold prediction with him is, regardless of Chris Godwin, if and when he comes back, Emeka Egbuka becomes Baker Mayfield's favorite target from right off the bat. I'm talking week 1. I think he's going to become his favorite target right away, leads the team in receptions as a rookie, and will be, this time next year, will be a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. Currently, he's number 24 in ADP. In redraft, Emeka Egbuka is the wide receiver 34 in ADP. And I think it's, for as much as I started the segment with Egbuka talking about how excited everybody is about him, guys, not that excited for still be a wide receiver 34 that's just barely a wide receiver 3 in a 12-team league. And I think this guy should have went higher. I think you're looking at the guy averaging as a wide receiver 2 throughout the season. For that value, I think people are going to look back and wish that they reached on him. The guys that were really in on him, I saw some people reach on him like 3-4 rounds. I don't know if I would have gotten that crazy, but I totally get it. Totally get it. Mike Evans, he's even came out himself and said, Mike Evans is 32, and Evans has even recently came out and said, I'm taking it like year by year approach. Egbuka, especially in Dynasty. Here's some guys in Dynasty that are going ahead of Egbuka that they're all day, every day, I'm taking Egbuka over. And guys, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Roma Dunze, Xavier Worthy, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry, maybe that's hot takey, but I'm taking Egbuka over all those guys in Dynasty. And I'm not even I don't even need to waste your time breaking it down. I just, to me, I don't get it. And I love it because if I had any of those guys, I'm going and offering them right now to go and get Egbuka. Good news is I already made most of my trades over the offseason acquiring Egbuka. Went back after rookie drafts when he was a lot cheaper. I just really love his game. And it's not just his game. He's came in as a rookie as a true pro, coach's favorite. Baker has already came out on podcasts saying the guy's an absolute, I think it was the Travis Kelce podcast, him and his brother Jason. And he's like, guys, this guy's an absolute stud. That was early in the summer, too. Just came in, a pro's pro. People can't say enough good things about him. Sky's the limit for this guy in his career. Next guy. This isn't really so much bold take-ish. It's just kind of like the Jordan Mason thing. I just wanted to give this guy a note. Jameson Williams. I just think the only bold, real thing I can say about him is I think people are going to regret. He's going to make people regret. And luckily I didn't, but taking St. Brown in the first round versus Jamo's ADP of the 6th round. You don't want both wide receivers from the same team, right? In any format, you don't want both Lions wide receivers. So to me, when I approached some of the redrafts I was in, I had a lot of opportunities to take St. Brown for where he was going, which surprisingly, I looked up his ADP right before I got on here. He was going as the ADP wide receiver 4 in fantasy this year. I didn't realize he was going that because I was seeing him, but maybe it's true. But my whole thing about it is in my head, I go, I'm not going to take St. Brown in the 1st because I want Jamo in the 6th, and I don't want both of them. And I'll get that value, and took the risk, and I got Jamo in every league I'm in. I think the guys, he only really just kind of had a full season last year. Remember, he had a bunch of issues, missed most of his first season. Then he had the gambling thing. He's grown up a lot. I'm a Detroit Lions fanatic, and this guy has been the belle of the ball in training camp all offseason. His routes, his cutting ability, he's added a little bit of muscle. He's a slender guy, but you watch him, he's just on a different level. And I'm not, and it's not to take away anything from St. Brown. St. Brown is St. Brown. And if you have him, he's awesome. He's a stud. He's one of the most reliable, especially in PPR targets. But you're looking for an upside guy in the 6th round. Jameson Williams last season, 58 receptions, 1,000 yards. I told you with the Jahmyr Gibbs stuff, with this schedule that the Lions have, it's out of this world, okay? This is a completely different ball game than last year when they went 15-2. The Lions played one team all regular season that had a legit chance at the Super Bowl, and that was Buffalo. This year, points. We've seen what they can do with JMO, and everybody freaks out about the loss of Ben Johnson. Guys, all these players were still in the room. It's not like they all forgot these plays that Ben Johnson was calling. Johnny Morton, he'll know how to get the best out of this talent. JMO is extremely talented. It's taken him a while to get here, but he's here, and there's no looking back. I think there's no chance at his age and what he's shown that he can do when he's just focused and what he looks like in this offseason. I mean, he looks unstoppable. He's going up. Great quote. Brian Branch, our best safety, one of the best safeties in football. They were asking him after a practice back in the end of July. And he said, guys, for Jameson Williams this season, get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready. He's going to go off. He's just came in a different dude. I don't know. And he just looks unguardable. And that's no offense to Brian Branch. I love Brian Branch. JMO was torching him all off season. That's one of the best players in football he's going up against. JMO was torching him. All the joint practices that they did, not just unstoppable. 58 catches for 1,000 yards last year. If he takes a leap in that, he gets a little bit more target share. I mean, I know there are a lot of mouths to feed in Detroit, but guys, there's also a lot of points that are going to need to be scored on this team for this team to stay competitive. They have all of the firepower to do it. And for me, where people are going, I mean, Gibbs and St. Brown are first-round picks. So, you look at what else can I get? I think Laporta's in for a huge bounce-back season. He's going before JMO. I'd rather wait and take JMO. And then Montgomery, who I think Montgomery is probably going to be the one player that misses out the most in terms of the Ben Johnson leaving situation. I kind of touched on that in the Jahmyr Gibbs segment where it's, the days of, Montgomery gets this whole first drive and then it's Gibbs. I don't see that happening. So anyways, I love JMO, and I think, this time next year he could be skyrocketing up boards because I just think the guy is going to show people why he was a first-round pick, why Brad Holmes, took the gamble on him, reached for him, took him 12 overall. He was coming off a brutal ACL injury, and people were scratching their heads, but I think JMO is in for a monster season and a monster rest of his career. I really do. All right, what else do I have? I have a few left here. Okay. Where did I go? Okay. How about this one? Demario Douglas, slot wide receiver for the New England Patriots, not only becomes Drake May's favorite target this season, but he breaks 1,000 yards as the wide receiver 1 in New England over Diggs, over Kyle Williams, all that. Leads the team with the most catches and the most yards. And the guy is basically going undrafted. He's only 24. He might have just turned 25. I don't stack right. I don't know. But I remember checking a couple months ago. I was looking at a Dynasty League, and he was still 24. He might still be. He's an absolute screaming value. Mike Vrabel, new coach, comes in and came out and he said that one of the winners, complete total winners of the whole offseason for New England was Demario Douglas. It's not sexy, but it's value. And I look at New England. I told you I love Drake May, and I get it. Because a big reason why I love Drake May is because of the mobility, but somebody's catching the ball. And Demario Douglas, I guess he's been a part of every single offseason activity, everything, you name it. He's been an absolute underrated slot stud, and I think People, if he's on waivers, I guarantee you, if he's on waivers after week 1, he will be one of the top waiver wire targets. Go get him now before the season starts. Love me some Demario Douglas, and I think people should be more in on him. Someone's catching balls there, and Diggs is 31 years old, and he's had kind of a shaky offseason, and he's coming off an injury. Demario Douglas is one of the best, if not the best value in fantasy football. Guys, you're talking about the potential wide receiver 1, and that's my bold prediction. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in New England on a team that's on the up, that's going to be really competitive. And I'm telling you, get in on Demario Douglas while you can. All right, where is my next guy? Here we go. My last wide receiver. You ready for this? So this one's interesting. George Pickens. George Pickens is currently going as the wide receiver 25 in ADP, and I think he finishes at least as a top 15 wide receiver. He's in a contract year. I got done telling you I'm huge on Dak Prescott, and I think that Pickens is going to ball out. Here's where it gets interesting, okay? My other bold prediction with George Pickens, he's one and done with Dallas. Dallas, they just let the face of the franchise go in Micah Parsons. And a big reason why that happened is because Jerry Jones just didn't want to deal with Micah Parsons' agent. Well, guess who has the same agent? George Pickens. So at the end of this year, if everything goes the way I think it's going to be, and I'm not on an island here, a lot of people are in on Pickens, and rightfully so. No running game, like I said. He's going to get, if Dak Prescott, which I firmly believe just makes all the sense in the world that he is at least top 3 or 4, I think he's going to be the second. He might even be the number 1 overall in terms of pass attempts. Well, if he's the number 1 overall in pass attempts, who's he throwing to? CeeDee Lamb's not going to get 300 catches. He's just going to be airing it out to Lamb and to Pickens. Lamb, Pickens, Lamb, Pickens. It's all day long. You could be looking at a guy that gets well over 100 catches. Both him and Lamb well over 100 catches. Pickens is explosive. People think he's just and I've been there, but it was a weird situation in Pittsburgh, Pickens in Pittsburgh just kind of felt like a ESPN highlight play. Not really much going on, and he might have 3-4 catches, but those 3-4 catches were like one-handed, upside down, toe drags on the sideline, and you're like, wow, this guy's he's talented. How does that work for fantasy? Well, this is a completely different situation. You went from a situation in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith where it's all running the ball. Now you're in Dallas, it's all throwing. And Dallas, while I get, is a total mess. The defense, this and that. The one thing that they have going for them, the one true thing that they have going for them is their wide receiver core. When we talk about the Cincinnati light, guys, CeeDee Lamb's not that far off from Jamar Chase. I'd still much prefer Jamar Chase because Jamar can do all of it, and CeeDee Lamb's a bit more of a possession receiver. He needs the targets in order to get the fantasy production. But we'll see. Pickens is going to take a lot of pressure off of Lamb. You have to respect Pickens on the other side. Lamb's never had to deal with that. Last year, what was it? He had Jalen Tolbert and, Brandon Cooks was back, I think. I don't even remember. Kevontae Turpin. Like, those aren't guys that a defense is going to respect enough. Pickens is going to ball out. They're going to help each other. Pickens is going to ball out, get a huge amount of target share. If Lamb's getting 33% of the target share, Pickens is going to get 28%. I mean, and that could be huge fantasy success, something we haven't seen before for Pickens. And the guy has it in him. He could blow the doors off. Sits there, blows the doors off, sitting there trying to get big boy money from Dallas at the end of the season in the contract year. We've seen what Jerry just did with Micah Parsons, not dealing with that